Council will come to order, please. All rise and salute the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'd all please remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of our servicemen and women and those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. Barbara.
Could I have a moment of silence, Council President?
Yes, you may.
I'm sorry, I meant to ask you before, and I
Yes,
forgot.
no, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to have a moment of silence. The Linden community last Wednesday evening suffered a tragic loss of 18-year-old Robert Gardino, who his family has been in the Linden area for the last 80 years. He was tragically killed in a car accident in Middleton with he was in the car with 3 of his friends. So the last week in Linden has been a really, really difficult time for us all. So I just want to let the Gardino family, their family owned Walsh Florist on Broadway. Many of you may know that family. I just want them to know that they're in our prayers, and if there's anything that they need, that they can come to us for anything. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, please be advised that Councilor Spadafora is joining us by Zoom tonight. So all votes will be taken by roll call. So that will add a little bit of time to this. Okay. Clerk, if you would please call the roll. There you are. You're on.
Councilor Spadafora can
Yeah.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Councilor Condon. Here. Councilor Crowe. Here. Councilor Linehan. Here. Councilor McDonald. Here. Councilor O'Malley. Here. Councilor Seca.
Yes.
Councilor Simonelli. Here. Councilor Spadafora. Councilor Winslow. Here. Council President Murphy.
Here. For those of you in attendance, please be advised that UMA Urban Media Arts will be videotaping this evening's session, so there will be audio and video recording of everything that happens this evening. Next order of business.
Marie Law Adams of the Malden River Works Steering Committee will appear before the City Council to present updates to the Malden River Works Park project.
Ms. Adams, if you could please approach the podium, and when you come up, state your name and address for the record. And Ms. Minong, also, if you would state your name and address for the record.
I'm Marcia Minong. I live at 296 Bryant Street here in Malden.
Marie Law Adams. Do I need to state my address if I don't live in Malden?
Yes, sir.
83 Sunset Rock Road, Andover, Massachusetts.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're just going to do a brief update of what's happening with the Malden River Works project. I think most of you, excuse me, are aware of the project and have shown your support, and we're grateful for that. But the Malden River Works project for waterfront equity and resilience is a project led by a coalition of community leaders of color youth, environmental advocates, and government stakeholders to bring a new climate-resilient public park for all on the Malden River. As you can see, this particular slide shows one of the events that we had on the Malden River, Words on Water, which was a collaboration with Malden Reed. So we're just going to do a brief project overview. I'm the chairperson of the steering committee, and Marie is our lead designer for this project. So the project is located at the DPW yard at 356 Commercial Street. And I'm just going to show you a few photos of the public works. This is a not so good photo of the public works yard. As you can see, the salt piles. And this is one of the things that will be addressed through this project as well, because all of this ends up in the river. Some more of the DPW yard. This is the location where the new park is going to be. As you can see, this is the current dock that's there. So, yeah. The Malden River Works approach to increase equitable access to open spaces involves a governance structure that is designed to promote an equitable process in project outcomes by centering the leadership of BIPOC residents. And by that, I mean Black, Indigenous, people of color. So it was very important, the structure that we established, and this is what it looks like. And if I may just, this structure departs from the standard planning and development projects led by professional planning experts, sometimes municipal staff and/or private interests, by focusing decision-making and leadership from residents who will be most affected by the project's outcome. This is done through a coordinated effort of two teams, the Malden River Works Steering Committee and the project team. Thank you. And if I might just take a minute, I think some of our steering committee members and project team members are here. If you wouldn't mind just to stand. I think it's important for us to note that this is not just Marie and I, who often are the ones who are presenting. This is a team effort. This is some of our team members, so thank you. The steering committee is a group of 14, comprised primarily of BIPOC residents, 9 of the 14. The purpose of the steering committee, in addition to participating in the larger community outreach events, is to guide the project to ensure that outcomes reflect community values and priorities, and to lead with a specific emphasis on achieving meaningful participation for Malden's BIPOC residents. The project team is a smaller group of 6, including 3 members of the steering committee to ensure communication between the two teams. The project team is responsible for implementing the day-to-day tasks related to the project design and development. So this is our team, both teams, the steering committee and the project team, although we have a couple of people missing, actually, photos. So, community leadership and meaningful community involvement requires additional funding and time compared to standard expert-driven planning and development practices. But that was our commitment to this project. Community leaders should be compensated for their contributions, and additional time in project overview and reflection should be incorporated at the onset of project planning and budgeting, and that's what we have done. As you can see, we have been busy since 2019 when this project first started, with several outreach public meetings. There was surveys conducted. We have bi-monthly steering committee meetings and weekly project team meetings. And we've held several really fantastic community events like Project Mystique, Words on Water, stewardship workshops. Those are some of the things that we've done. And it's been very important in terms of collaboration. Sorry. Okay. And this is some examples of of what we have done, such as having some information workshops, sometimes just in someone's yard. We've had trash cleanups on the Malden River, and that continues as part of the work. Collaboration has been an integral part of this project from the beginning, whether we're holding information sessions or we're canoeing on the river or collaborating with indigenous leaders of different tribes here. We have kept centering equity as a priority during this whole process. And now Marie is going to take us through the design process. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcia. So the physical design for Malden River Works is to both create a climate resilient public park on the riverfront, as well as modernize and upgrade the DPW yard operations. And so some of the climate resilient strategies that we're using in the park project are to protect it from sea level rise flooding. So the entire park area along the riverfront is raised. From flooding from storms, so we're using a number of nature-based processes, increased tree cover as well as bioretention basins to manage stormwater. And then we're also working to protect residents against extreme heat. This is a part of the city that experiences a lot of increased temperatures because of the amount of pavement. And so we're introducing more than 200 trees to the area. As Marcia was saying, the concept design process initially took place over the course of a year from 2019 through the pandemic in 2020. I know a lot of you were involved in that process and contributed your ideas. We worked from three main kind of different concepts and then narrowed them into a synthesized design, which is represented here. So this is what we had in the fall of 2020, which was added to our concept design report here, which we use to document that process and always return to as we started the long process of doing environmental permitting and fundraising for the project. In terms of the physical design, some of the main features are the park along the riverfront. The park is a piece of the Malden River Greenway, which connects into the properties north that has a portion of the Greenway constructed and anticipates the future completion of the Greenway moving south and going towards Medford. There is a new boathouse that replaces the current fabric structure that the crew teams use. It is a more permanent structure which will provide greater security for the crew teams, and then a flexible lawn space which can be used for gathering. It provides, the park design provides access to the river through pathways that are fully wheelchair accessible at slopes that are less than 5%. And then there's a long, 300-foot long public floating dock so that residents can get access to the river and do canoeing and kayaking. Since the concept design was completed in 2020, we've worked with our engineering team to come up with the full design for the entire project, which you can see here. There's, as I mentioned earlier, a number of green stormwater infrastructure strategies incorporated, a major rain garden that's near Commercial Street at the kind of front door of the DPW yard, reconfigured parking, a salt storage shed which brings the DPW into compliance for salt storage, as Marcia was mentioning, and reorganized material storage bins for the DPW yard so that they can sort of better organize their operations and create safe access for residents to get to the river. You can see in the drawing that there's 2 tree-lined pathways that lead from Commercial Street to get visitors to the park, down to the river, to the boathouse, the lawn, and the restored riverfront landscape. And then you can see here a diagram of the green stormwater strategies, as well as a series of underground chambers that are located throughout the DPW yard and park, which help protect the park and DPW from flooding from increased storms that we'll be experiencing in the future by holding water on site longer. Our landscape strategy is really working to build up the natural habitat and work with the Malden River ecosystem. So this is just a representation that offshoots our landscape architect created that looks at all of the different animals and birds and their relationship to the planting strategy, which is a little bit washed out in this image here. But as I mentioned earlier, over 200 new trees, as well as a variety of other landscape elements that provide color and as well as habitat for wildlife. In terms of the design process, we're nearly completed with our construction documents. We are almost finished with environmental permitting. There were a number of permits that the project needed because of the work near the waterfront. So we're finished with the Conservation Commission's order of conditions. We've gone through the MEPA process. We are almost completed with Chapter 91 licensing for the new dock, and our Army Corps permit should be following the completion of the Chapter 91 license. We expect to be ready to bid the project out for construction in this winter, in the next few months, and we could be ready for starting construction as soon as the summer of 2024. We are in the process of fundraising for the project. The Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development has been working on a number of grant applications that we've been supporting for the project. We have also been working with some private philanthropic donors, and we've raised over more than half of the total project cost to date. But we will be looking for the city's support in the future to help bridge the gap in funding that we are seeing. It's a $13 million project, and we've raised over half of that, which is a significant achievement for this. And then a big piece of this that we really want to emphasize is that this will be really providing much needed improvements to the DPW yard, which is experiencing a lot of flooding. The project will solve all of those problems. It will make the DPW yard resilient and able to do its work when the city experiences, any issues with, climate change, and it will allow them to continue to be running their operations without interruption from storms as they currently are happening right now. So thank you. We're happy to take any questions that you might have.
I'm waiting for my panel to light up here, and I see the first one. Councilor Cologne Hayes.
Thank you so much.
Are they going? Oh.
Hello. Oh.
It is on a different setting, okay. All right, so
It's
if
good now.
everyone, I just want everyone to be mindful of that. Once you touch your button, you're live, so that is going to be a little bit of a problem. I know that's going to be a little bit of a problem, so, I want to say this seriously. Seriously, folks, up here at the podium, seriously, if you go live, watch your sidebars, okay, because it's going to be disrespectful to the people who are at the podium, okay? And that means paper bags, too. Okay, Councilor Cologne Hayes.
Thank you so much. So first of all, thank you all for all the hard work that you've done. I can't tell you, just watching from 30 years ago when we bought our house here, we bought it because of the Middlesex Fells and also because of the Malden River. We've been using the Malden River for so long, and the improvements and the amount of attention that you've brought to it has been just tremendous. Most of you are my friends, and I think this group should be like a best practice role model for how to get the word out to the community. The amount of work you've done to reach our diverse population is just, it can't be matched. So I just want to thank you for that. And the salt and the DPW. That is something that's been an issue. I've called, I know Bobby Knox has been great about it, but my husband's water actually was polluted just by that in New York, by a salt pile by the DPW. So it's a big issue for us. So I'm so glad that this is just a big, full picture of doing some great things for our city. And I also was at the CPC meeting where they were, yes, exactly, where they voted unanimously, and people just couldn't say enough about the group and what you've done. So I'm so excited for this project, and I just want to thank everyone here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Simonelli. Oh, Councilor hold on a sec. Councilor Simonelli.
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, I just want to echo those words. I just commend you guys for keeping up with this work. I got a chance this past summer to take a ride on the river, which I've never done before. The whole time I've lived in Malden, I've never rode on the water over there, and it was great. And I see that Everett's done a lot of work to the little parcel that they have over there, and we went on the river with I think it's Councilor Spatafora and I with Clean Harbor River project or something. Where is it? What is it? Clean River Project. Thank you. And I guess they do some dredging and stuff, and we had put in a proposal to the mayor's office over the summer. And so, this is something that's needed. And, these days, there's a lot of grant money out there. I know when I was on the council before, it was far and few between, but since I've come back, I see there's a lot of grant money out there, and you guys are doing a terrific job, and we're glad to have you guys doing that work for us. It's a lot of work, and I think it's going to be a great project when it's finished. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Linehan.
Thank you, Madam President. Don't want to be repetitive, but just want to sort of echo the thanks and the appreciation for getting some of us and our families out on the water. I know I would never have probably known that you could canoe on the Malden River until you all had programming that brought us out there, and that, was honestly my child's first exposure to that. So I hope that that's something that we see for countless future generations. I also want the community, I think, to hear and appreciate how much the model of how you've done this project, centering our communities of color and our EJ communities, has become a roadmap for how we're doing other large projects in the city. So truly the repercussions for that singular choice are going to make all of our future large-scale projects, I feel, more equitable. So kudos to you for having the courage to kind of be the first to do that, and for setting a new process for how we do community engagement. And just want to say, this is a big money lift. I think we have a few things in the city right now that are going to be that way, but they have this unbelievably transformational power for the future and for the future generations. So it's going to be daunting to find the funds. I know that. I appreciate what the CPC has voted to do and all the other grants that we've brought together, but I know there's a lot of work ahead. So you have my support to help do that. And I know this is one project among several that are looking for big dollars. And I'd be remiss not to remind folks that one of the votes we're taking later tonight will have a direct impact on whether we can leverage future state and federal dollars for projects like this. So thank you again for all the work, and just can't wait to see where we go from here.
Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you. Thank you to the project team for carrying this forward. It's crazy how many years it's been and how far we've come, so thank you so much. One of the questions that I had is about the potential funding sources. As Councilor Linehan just said, the CPC has recommended close to $1 million in city funds be allocated to the project through the CPC. And I'm wondering, knowing the history of the Malden River and the contamination, have we been able to go for brownfield grants? And do you see a potential pathway, not just for this site, for the entire waterway, of potentially a Superfund designation? I know this is sometimes controversial. The Neponset River has that designation now, and I do know that probably a lot of the costs to really open up the Malden River has to do with that contamination, and I want to see what your thoughts were on that as a project team.
We have had a few conversations with EPA staff about getting funding to do cleanup or assessment. they went so far, but we found that the project wasn't an ideal candidate for them. They were really looking to kind of link together multiple sites and think about something larger at the scale that you're talking about. I'm not an expert on whether getting the designation, a Superfund designation would be the right choice here. We do have an LSP on the project who's advised us through this process. And so we have the measures in place to do the amount of cleanup and safe soil storage on the DPW site, but haven't brought it to that level.
Perfect. I know it's a topic that many people have different perspectives on, and it would definitely be a community conversation. But knowing that this is something that we want to replicate all along the Malden River, I do think that, you know, if this is $13 million, we multiply that by the number of parcels, we're talking about a significant amount of money that I don't necessarily think should all be on the City of Malden to fund, but really should be on the polluters that caused the problems originally. But that is definitely a political conversation with the project team that probably needs to be discussed. One other question, and I hope it's also not controversial. I know that you had talked about the flooding issues on the site, and knowing that the end goal is to get the project complete, and that we wouldn't be, you know, not completing the project. Is there a way, if the funding is not coming in by the summer schedule that you proposed, could we implement the drainage and storage system so that we can alleviate the flooding? One of the concerns that I think we all have is not just for the environmental impact that would have in terms of water going into the Malden River that's contaminated with salt, but also the health and safety of our DPW workers. So it's just something to think about. I know that the project team probably has strong feelings on this, and it would be great to hear what you guys think.
Would you like to start?
We definitely have had some discussion on this and are looking at the possibility of having to phase it if we don't have all the money by the summer of 2024. So.
And I'll also defer to Debbie Burke, who I know has been in conversation from the Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development. I don't know if you want to say anything.
I apologize for my hard questions.
I'm sorry. I'm Debbie Burke, the Director of OSPCD. I guess I would answer that as representing Mayor Christensen this evening in front of this body. We have been discussing the possibility of having to phase the project to address some health and safety concerns, you know, largely through the flooding and the fact that it's a location where quite a few people work on a day-to-day basis. We'd love to do it all at once if we can pull together the resources. These folks should be applauded in terms of the grants that they brought in to date, but it does fall short of where we need to be. But we're still continuing to look and identify new grants.
And I don't mean to speak for the fellow councilors here, but I think that our goal is to get the full funding and do this all in one fell swoop. But if there's a way that we can either go for these federal funds or state funds or even compartmentalize it as you guys have indicated, we are in full support, or at least I'm in full support, and I'm sure that I can echo that for the rest of the council. Thank you.
Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, thanks first of all, your patience in finally getting before the council. It has been, and just for your persistence through the 5 years that this has started to really take a very preliminary vision and take it this far to construction. It's drawings, that's a lot, and the community process has been amazing and inclusive, and really appreciated, and is really going to set a model going forward as we go along. So I just really want to thank everybody for that. And now for my fellow councilors, that we are, you know, we'll be working on other things. This is just one piece of land along the river. Maybe through some master planning, we can even encourage more things along and connect this up to the rest of Malden, as well as you know, putting into the place whatever funding we need to make this happen, because it is the public works side is a big lift, and that is, you know, this building out there has been there since, you know, over 30 years now, so it is about time we invest in our public works department and the people who work hard out there. So I think it's a great opportunity, and without your effort, I don't think we'd be talking about either one of these things. So thanks so much, and we look so much forward to figuring out how best we can support and get every dollar we can, both you know, federal, state, and local, that we can make this happen sooner rather than any later. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow. Councilor McDonald.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, let me echo all of these pieces about, the beautiful model that this has created. It's influencing our climate action plan, the importance of the, being really as speedy as possible about cleaning up the site, investing in the DPW overall, including the inside of the building, which really needs it. I actually do have a question for you, which is, I so appreciate that you have just introduced imagination and possibility into places where it hadn't existed in the city. That seems really precious to me. And as we start on this master planning process, as Councilor Winslow mentioned, what do you think this could mean for the city to have this rooted in the community in place? Like, could this be a signature part of the city's identity and attraction? Like, what do you think this could mean for the future of Malden to get this done?
Absolutely.
Or that corridor, river, and everything else? Please, Marcia.
Yeah. I definitely think that it would become one of the jewels of Malden, I think, there are many people we found through this project that have said they didn't know we had a Malden River, they've never been on it, those kind of things. I think we're opening doors, and it's transformative, and we're doing the right thing.
Well, thank you for pushing us to dream and for rooting that in equity. It's really beautiful what you all have done. And I'll just add my voice to the support of let's figure out how to make it happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And seeing no other lights on just from the chair, I want to thank you for your continued effort. And, even though, maybe you'll hit some bumps in the road and hit some times that things are a little bit uncomfortable, I would have you look to Bike to the Sea and realize that it took the perseverance of the Bike to the Sea folks for almost 20 years to give us the bike path that we have today and is enjoyed by so many of our constituents. And that's the type of project that you folks are working on and that you're bringing to the community. And although it might not be going as fast as you'd like to, you've made tremendous progress over the last 5 years. And we're all just very excited to see it come to fruition and not only be a role model, for Malden and the surrounding properties, but I know just from sitting in some of your meetings a year or two ago that, it's a role model for other communities, within the Commonwealth too. So the work you're doing really has far-reaching efforts, and, we just wish you a bunch of luck, and you have my undying support. So thank you for all you're doing. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And in case anyone watching didn't know that we have a Malden River, and we also have a harbor master, and he happens to be sitting in the room. So, Mr. Anderson, are you there? I think you are there. If you would stand up, our harbor master. So, let's see, the next order of business is public comment. So public comment is allowed under council rules. Each speaker is allowed 2 minutes to speak, okay, on the subject matter that is on the docket. So it has to be relevant to this evening's agenda. And clerk, do we have? We do indeed, public comment.
We have 8 members of the public here tonight to speak for public comment, as well as 1 written email.
So would you like to start with the public?
Bernard, please.
If you would please state your name and address for the record.
Keith Bernard, 58 Almont Street, Unit 18. So we're going and seeing the days from this side now. My name is Keith Bernard. I'm here representing Mystic Valley Progressives. We're a chapter of Progressive Mass based here in Malden. To be perfectly honest, I'm also, and transparent, I'm a member of the school committee here, but I'm not presenting on behalf of them. Our members are fellow Maldonians. We're a mixed group of homeowners, long-term renters, and new Malden residents. And we are deeply concerned with the realities of housing here in Malden. We want to express our strong support of the inclusionary zoning that meets or exceeds the MBTA guidelines. Malden's our home. It's more than a place where we sleep, it's where we work, where our children have gone to school, played in our parks. It's where we build lasting relationships here with our friends and our neighbors. And some of us are in very real danger of being priced out. The rent for one of our families increased from $1,450 a month to $3,500 in just over a decade, and I don't know about you, but to me, that's not sustainable. A number of us have made some real investments to live in this city, and we don't want to get priced out. Furthermore, we have a concern as to what costs and penalties we will incur as a city by not being in compliance. Are we going to risk the services that we provide to our seniors, our veterans, and to our students and other residents by not going in and getting this approved tonight? The zoning is going to help us stay together as a city. By joining other communities that are seeing this and going forward with this, like Brookline and Lexington, and increasing the supply in a smart way, it's going to allow more opportunities for us and our neighbors to go and stay here in Malden. Tonight we ask that you not only vote in support of the zoning to comply with the letter of the law, we ask that you commit to our neighbors, your neighbors, and help us stay here in the city that we have all grown to love. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bernard.
Holly Winginger?
Hi, my name is Holly Wenninger. I live at 12 Greenleaf Street, number 3, and I'm just representing people who live in Malden and rent. I have lived in Malden for almost 30 years now, and twice in the past 5 years I've been forced to move because my landlords decided to give my apartment to a family member because we have a housing shortage and their family member could not get housing on their own. And this is just really difficult because I really wanted to stay in Malden, which I did manage, but it sends you into a panic because there's so few apartments and the rent is so high. And it creates this awful sense of precarity for people who are renting, and yet we are as committed to our neighborhoods in our town as homeowners and have an equal desire to stay here and stay involved and be with our friends and church and whatever, and schools. And so, we really need to be committed to expanding our housing and to passing the zoning for the MBTA communities. Because it's a regional but also a very local problem, and we need to make it possible for people to stay where they are and not be living in fear of being booted out or having their rent raised up to exorbitant highway robbery rates. And so I just want to really put in that we need this, and please pass this so that people can live to their fullest productivity and enjoy their lives and not be living in fear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Zeta Ortiz?
Hi, everybody. Zida Ortiz, Ward 7, Main Street's Ward 7, 58 Almont Street. I am also here to echo the same sentiments. I moved to Malden because I was homeless. I lost my housing in Cambridge, and the only place I could find in the late 90s to move to was Malden. It was close to the T, and while I was working in Chestnut Hill, the only thing I was looking for was a place to live that was near the T. It would take me 2 hours to commute, and I still did it. But because of the car culture here in Malden, I started saving money to buy a car. And because I saved money to buy a car, I became one of those cars out on the street. I still want to use the MBTA to get around, and I still do it when I go into the cities. But I will tell you this, if we're not investing both in the MBTA and in affordable housing, this city is going to get left behind. We need to have, it's just insane to me that we would even think about leaving all that money on the table and taking the penalties. If Newton is doing it, if Wellesley is doing it, if Brookline is doing it, and Lexington's doing it, we should be too. And all of our neighbors, the majority of them are renters. 57% of the people that live here in Malden are renters, including myself and my husband. And I don't know any other couple that is as committed. So I hope that you will vote in favor of this. Thank you.
Kathy Van Diver.
Honorable Malden councilors and attendees, my name is Kathy Bandver and I live in Lexington, Mass. However, I'm speaking on behalf of contributors to the Malden River project, and I'm following, I know, a lot of housing concerns, so I apologize for this break. I'm speaking on behalf of two organizations. One is the Center for Environmental Health Sciences at MIT, and the other one is the Leventhal Center for Advanced Urbanism. As many of you recall, these two academic institutes at MIT had faith in Malden, and they provided the seed funding to start up the Malden River Works project with an award called the Leventhal Prize. And MIT also partnered in the research work which produced the human health risk study for boating on the Malden River. And actually, I recall sharing the study results before the council afterwards, and yes, demonstrating that the study proved that the river was safe for boating. So over the past 4 years, the people of Malden, I must say, have been amazing in their sustained interest and effort in the planning for the public park on the river. Collectively, we're all looking forward to building the climate-resilient riverfront, restoring natural habitats, and providing the people of Malden with a very well-deserved access to the river for recreational enjoyment. We appreciate that the councilors have supported this effort in many ways as well. So I just want to say together that we are all looking forward to celebrating. Are you ready to imagine it? Imagine it, the opening day at the Malden River Works Park, and we're all there together. So thanks again for working together to make this a reality. It's really exciting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff Taylor.
Hi, Jeff Taylor, Ward 557, Mount Vernon Street. Just wanted to speak in favor of the inclusionary zoning. Been a renter here in Malden since the mid-90s, like 95 or 96. I lived near Oak Grove then, and we rented a 4-bedroom apartment for $500. And now, because of the zoning that we have currently had, I think, has been restrictive and not allowed new housing to open up along with the demand for housing in the area, so that Malden can maintain itself as a place that's affordable for blue-collar workers to live and raise families. I think we should adopt the inclusionary zoning to open up more places for housing, and hopefully we won't see such a increase where the place I had that was $500 is probably like $4,000, $5,000 now. So I know that was 30 years ago, but it's quite an extreme amount. So I hope that we look at adopting the inclusionary zoning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kimberly Pop.
Kimberly.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Poff. I live at 22 Appleton in Ward 1, and I'm speaking in support of the new zoning regulations for the MBTA Communities Act. My husband and I have been renters here in Malden since 2017. We are big fans of a city that allows us to only own one car so that I can take the T downtown for work or school and he can drive to work. And that is really something that was unique of towns around Boston in our ability to do that. So I am in support of those zoning regulations that maintain the affordability of this community, but also, as a person who was not surprised to know we have a river, if anyone would like to be on the river, practice is Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5:30 a.m. You can join me tomorrow if you'd like. No, tomorrow we're not on the water, it is too cold. But staying in compliance with this state law will allow us to access funding for a great new boathouse, which I'm very excited about because as the smallest person on the team, I have to lay on the floor to thread the boats over my head to put them in the boathouse that's there. So, in support of both of these things, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Marissa Zampino.
Hello, my name is Marissa Zampino. I use she, they pronouns, and I live in Medford, but I am here representing the Mystic River Watershed Association. For those who don't know, the Mystic River Watershed Association protects and restores the Mystic River, which is all the way down from East Boston, all the way up into Reading, and the Malden River is one of the tributaries. We do a variety of things, stewardship events, cleanup events. I've seen some of you at our cleanups, which is really great. But I'm just here again to support the Malden River Works project. I'm truly in awe of the project, and I think we were mentioning that people around the Commonwealth use it as an example of great community engagement, great community-led design, and just overall amazing collaboration that really, really follows the principles of environmental justice and equity. And here at the Mystic River, we hold up this project as one of the key projects that we now use to model every other project that we're doing. So I just want to thank everybody again for their support, everybody in the room for their support, and just help us to continue this great park and this great vision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now Karen, it's your turn.
Hello, folks. Karen Buck, 323 Forest Street, Malden. I am in favor of the inclusionary zoning, by the way. But here I am. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here as the Friends of the Malden River. We wholeheartedly support the Malden River Works Climate Resilient and Equitable Waterfront Park. The Friends of the Malden River have been working for over a decade, with, rolling up our sleeves, donning up on our hip boots and cleaning up the river for the public, because that's what they want. They want a clean river to enjoy. And, we have worked to change the question. We have a river? Where is it? So we have been instrumental in the development of the portions of the Malden River walkway. We want it to be continuous around the whole walkway. We have a lot of work to do for that. And here we are before the City Council. We have a park designed, engineered, ready to rock. So we thank you for your support. So, and I just wanted to say that along with crucial partnerships, including Mystic River Watershed Association and MIT, we have proven that the Malden River is a vital and safe place for the public, including boating. We even had a city council meeting in the boats, in canoes. MIT's Advanced Urbanism Leventhal Prize opened doors through incentivizing the city, solidifying existing partnerships, and forming a new creative team and steering committee. Malden River Works has proven that to the City of Malden and to the state of Massachusetts that the Malden River is an important member of our communities. The Friends of Malden River are proud to be part of that process. Malden River Works Park is a goal, but it is not an endpoint for the Malden River. The City of Malden must continue to protect all of its green and blue spaces. The healing and resilient river has much to offer the community, but only if the community realizes the river's vulnerability. The environmental protection of the Malden River takes a village, persistent work, engaging the public with education about both the beauty and the fragility of our urban environment. We all need to put environmental stewardship at the bow and the stern of our ship. We are both the driving force, and together we must make sure we continue to steer in the correct direction.
Thank you, Ms. Beck.
Thank you.
And we have one letter to be read.
Hello, I live on Regent Road in Malden, and I wanted to submit a comment on the vote coming this Tuesday regarding Malden's approach to meeting the MBTA Communities Act requirements. I am strongly in favor of not only meeting the requirements in the MBTA Communities Act, but exceeding them. Here's why. Increased housing means a stronger tax base and more business for our great downtown. We'd like to encourage our friends to move here, but they need better choices than which $500,000 home they have to go into debt for. We don't want Malden to be like Assembly Square, where the people who work there can't afford to live there. It feels slimy. We need housing people can afford, not luxury condos and million-dollar homes like Somerville has. Malden's never going to be a small town. We are a thriving small city, a diverse one, and one with potential. Let's not reserve it for the rich. Thank you for your time, Colin Fredericks, 32 Regent Road.
Thank you. And as soon as I were on TV, I'd just like to clarify something. I've heard a number of folks comment about MBTA zoning that's coming up in inclusionary zoning. And I'd just like to split this up for a second. A number of years ago, the city passed an ordinance on inclusionary zoning for affordable housing. That is in effect right now. Okay, so anything new that's built, there are, requirements that require a developer to put aside, certain amount of apartments or pay into a fund. The MBTA zoning, unfortunately, does not address affordable housing. Okay, so folks are saying, you want to pass this because of inclusionary zoning. It's not in the law. Okay, that's something they neglected to put in there, affordable housing requirements or anything else. Now, a new development that would come in under the MBTA zoning would be subject to our inclusionary zoning, which the City Council passed. So I just want to make sure that it's clear to people that you're not getting something more, okay, by this MBTA zoning. We were actually kind of all amazed up here that there was not any type of an affordable housing requirement in the law that came down to us. So just, you need to separate that a little bit, and just like, and Ms. Burke, am I stating that correctly? I am correct, okay. Would you like to add anything to that? I just want people to understand that, because even here at the council level, it got a little bit confusing.
Okay. The current inclusionary zoning ordinance that's on the books that was approved by the council says that up to, you have to have a 15% set aside of affordable of any development that is 8 units or more. So we currently have that on the books. The MBTA community zoning that came out did not make affordability a requirement. They would allow us to go up to 10% affordable, with requesting, if we can, to them. What we have done is we have hired a consultant to do an economic feasibility analysis that was funded through a grant so that we can prove to them that we can get a waiver to go up to 15%, so that the MBTA community zoning that we would endorse would have that 15% provision in it. But we have to petition the state for it, and we have to seek their approval of a waiver.
So in other words, the zoning requirements is in front of us, okay, would not allow us at this point to even get to the point of the requirement that the City Council passed 2 years ago. I just want that very clear to folks here, okay?
Thanks.
A point of information, yes, Councilor Simonelli. Pressure, well, there, I got you on.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to ask you about the affordability piece. Are we at the 15% now? Are we near that?
Yep.
Are we?
The law, if you were to build a development in Malden tomorrow, and if you were going on now, if it's 8 units or more, 15% of the overall project needs to be affordable housing.
Thanks.
But what she just said was that the MBTA zoning, okay, only allows you to be 10%.
Right.
So we have to go for a waiver to get to where we want
Well,
to be.
and that was the other question I had. Would that be a home rule, would that be a home rule petition that would have to lobby the state for?
No, the state wanted us to dig into our inclusionary zoning that's on the books now and to determine with an analysis whether or not it would pencil out and make it, feasible for a developer to come in here and build something that would pencil out with a 15% affordability, requirement attached to it. Our analysis shows that it will. We have to present, if we're successful in having the zoning package pass, that zoning package, along with the economic feasibility analysis, has to be submitted to the state as one package before the end of December, and they'll determine whether or not they'll give us a waiver to go up to 15%.
Okay, and I'm going to actually stop this conversation here because I've just been told, we are actually under public comment, and we will actually get to this. And that was my mistake for leading. No, actually, I did lead it down here, but when I heard inclusionary zoning so much stated in public comment, I wanted to make sure that the public understood the difference, so of what we were talking about. So with that, and we can certainly, Councilor Simonelli, continue the conversation once we actually get into the paper itself. Okay, so with that, let's see. All right, so this evening's consent agenda consists of meeting minutes from November 28th, 6 petitions being referred to license, 1 paper being referred to finance, 2 papers being referred to ordinance, 1 communication to be placed on file. Does any councilor have a desire to remove any of these items from the consent agenda for the purpose of further discussion? Okay, seeing none. Hearing none and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Motion by Councilor Simonelli, seconded by Councilor Seca. On Councilor Simonelli's motion to approve the agenda, the clerk will call the roll, please.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor Linehan. Yes. Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor O'Malley. Yes. Councilor Seca. Yes. Councilor Simonelli.
Yes.
Councilor Spatafora. I saw him.
Councilor Spatafora, could you nod?
He said yes.
Yes, okay.
Okay. Councilor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes. Okay, haven't gotten there. Okay, so what I am going to do, as president, I am going to actually take out of order the paper 46623 and, hold on a second, nope, sorry. Yep, no, 46523 and 41823. Let me just make sure I have that right. Yeah, 46523 and 41823. So we'll take those out of order, and then we will be able to continue our discussion about MBTA zoning. So,
Paper 465-23, communication. Planning Board regarding paper 418-23, amendment of section 12.08.010, establishment of districts, and to amend section 12.08.020 zoning map to establish the MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District and mandatory mixed-use overlay district.
okay, on Councilor Crow's motion to receive and place on file the communication on file, seconded by Councilor Winslow. Clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor Linehan.
Yes.
Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor O'Malley. Yes. Councilor Seca. Yes. Councilor Simonelli.
Yes.
Councilor Spatafora. Yes. Councilor Winslow.
Yes.
Council President Murphy.
Yes. Next order of business, please.
Paper 418-23, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden, Title 12 is hereby amended as follows. To amend Section 12.08.010, Establishment of Districts, and to amend Section 12.08.020, Zoning Map, to establish the MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District and Mandatory Mixed-Use Overlay District to include those parcels identified in the attached list as shown on the attached map. City of Malden, MBTA Community Zoning Overlay Districts, dated 11/9/23, MCMOD-MMUD Boundary Map, and to amend Section 12.12, Use Regulations, to add a new Section 12.12.400, MBTA Communities Zoning Overlays.
Councilor Crowe.
Thank you, Madam President. First, let me apologize. I'm battling a cold, so it might sound a little rough. As we know, we've been kind of going through this for quite some time, and our team has really, as this new compliance came into law that we had to comply with. We really sort of kept in communication with the state as much as we possibly could because things had kept changing. And so our team really did quite a lot of work. Our city planner, Michelle Romero, and Debbie Burke, the director of OSPCD, in particular, along with some consultants. And so, again, things like mixed use has kind of changed, and we've kind of changed a little bit of what our plan was going forward. And I do want to ask them to come up as we had last week the public hearing based on what we had. And even from that public hearing, we've had some more communications with the state, who actually asked us to break out some things and make some, not substantive changes, but those are included, as well as what the planning board's recommendation was with some of their changes to what was proposed. So I don't know if Michelle wants to kind of go through some of those kind of just non-substantive amendments.
Yes, good evening. Thank you. Michelle Romero, City Planner. And I would like to note, as Councilor Crowe just mentioned, we have received feedback from the state very recently. We began to receive feedback Thursday at 5 p.m. We received more feedback yesterday and then more feedback this afternoon. So we are recommending the revisions that you have before you based on that feedback. That's to ensure our proposed zoning will comply with the requirements of state law. As you noted the date, Thursday, you'll note that was 2 days after the public hearing that we held. The joint public hearing held by the Planning Board and City Council Ordinance Committee was last Tuesday. So we received this feedback after that, which is why it was not presented to the Planning Board or to you at the public hearing. That being said, I do want to note, for the record, the proposed amendments will perfect, the proposed revisions will perfect the amendments. They are not fundamental of character. They do not change the identity of the proposal before you. The revisions do not change the required or allowable unit capacity, estimated potential growth, or impacts. All properties and the proposed regulatory framework were included in the notice of public hearing, and for all of these reasons, these revisions may be considered non-substantive and would not require a new public hearing. So with that being said, I would like to walk you through the amendments. We sent the most recent version of the amended text to the city clerk at about 5:30, so I realize some of you may not have received that. I do have paper copies if anybody, I know she then emailed it on to you, but I have paper copies if anybody would like them. I also have copies of the map. There was an amended map. So can I approach to
Please.
give you that? Oh, you can, Lisa can do that. Yeah, I think there should be one of each, right. So this is the most current revised version, which again, we literally just finalized this afternoon. I'll wait a minute till you get those passed out. And then we can go through them.
Turn the mic off. Long. Really big changes. Kind of breaking those two things out. So this is MD2, this is MD1. Sort of already considered, but that's the police.
just get, this is a lot to read here. So what I would suggest is that we let Ms. Romero walk us through what's here. And then if we need a moment to take a recess to kind of read the document ourselves, we can do that, or we can just ask questions. So why don't we start with letting her walk us through this and kind of giving us a...
Okay, thank you. And I will note, the 12-page document is essentially the same as the document that was filed, presented to you by Mayor Christensen on November 14th. That is the same document that went for public hearing. The revisions that are in the document literally are a matter of lines. There are several lines. So the bulk of it, the great bulk of that, is identical to what was discussed at hearing, what was covered in the notice, and what you've seen since November. So it looks like a big document, but what I've done, and this was at the request of Councilor Winslow, who was part of the internal working group for this project, was to highlight the amendments. So the first, you'll see right on the front page, the date is highlighted. Just for everyone's reference, the blue highlights are changes that we are recommending based on state feedback. The yellow are recommendations that the planning board made. So the first is the date of the map. So the boundary map that was referenced in paper 418 of 2023 was dated November 9th, 23. This boundary map, it has today's date, December 12th, 2023. So if this ordinance moves through, this will be the map that goes with the ordinance. So this is the most current map, the one that's dated December 12th, 23. The first thing I want to point out on the map that is different from the November map are modifications regarding 3 properties in Malden Center. One is the Malden Center MBTA station property, which is known as 31 Commercial Street. The other is the MBTA parking lot, which is known as Pleasant Street, and by parcel ID 031133309. And then the third is 332 Pleasant Street. That's the Malden City Fire Station. So those 3 parcels, under this proposed revised proposal, will now be classified as part of the Malden Center Subdistrict of the MBTA Communities Multifamily Housing Overlay District. Those 3 parcels are publicly owned, and they're considered not to be developable public land. So when the council received the proposal, when the planning board reviewed this proposal, those 3 parcels had no unit capacity attached to them, no potential growth, no development at all was allowed on those 3 parcels. That continues today. That is why we're considering this to not be a substantive change. There's no difference in the impacts, the growth, or the unit capacity. Other modifications to the boundary map are what we would call administrative revisions regarding right-of-ways. Sometimes the right-of-ways are part of one subdistrict, sometimes they're part of another subdistrict. Again, these are publicly owned, there's no development, they just serve to join the sections of the district. So again, this is not a substantive change, this is an administrative change. The third revision has to do with clarifying language. So this is where I would ask you to turn to page 2. One of the issues of feedback that we received from the state had to do with this particular subdistrict, the medium density subdistrict, which is called MCMOD-MD. The issue that was raised had to do with the unit capacity. The dimensional controls that we proposed in and of themselves did not reflect the unit capacity that we all discussed, that we all talked about, that was shown in all the impacts and that was shown in all the potential growth numbers that you saw, et cetera. So the initial idea was to add language in that set a capacity within that district. We received subsequent feedback that it had to be done a certain way, for a better way to explain it. So that is why this revision has been made. So that particular sub-district will become two sub-districts. There'll be MD1 and MD2, and that is so that the city can establish two different sets of dimensional controls. So that we'll, again, have the same unit capacity, the same potential growth, the same impacts. If you look at section C3 in blue, you'll see this new language as well, sub-district development limitations. This is setting a limit on the maximum number of units that will be allowed in the sub-district 1. You can see in section D, we've added a line for sub-district 2. You can also see under parking requirements, sub-district 2, MD2. Parking requirements will stay the same. All the dimensional controls will stay the same. The density is different. And again, that is so that we will maintain what was proposed in the original proposal, same unit capacity, same potential growth, same impacts. While we're on that page, I'll point out C, subsection 2A, highlighted in yellow. That is a recommendation of a revision made by the planning board. So it will add the language, all non-residential uses shall be subject to the use regulations of the underlying zoning district. That's really just to clarify. We don't want there to be any question or concern that uses that weren't intended to be allowed are somehow going to be allowed. And this, again, is specifically to do with non-residential uses, nothing to do with multifamily. And that is it for the changes. There was one more highlight you'll see, which is on page 10, which is the, I'm sorry, it's not on page 10, it's on page 7. D, Site Plan Review Committee, there was a typo, the word by was missing, and we just wanted to make sure this is a recommendation by the planning board to correct that typographical error so that it's clear that a city councilor at large will serve on the committee designated by the president of the city council. And that is the summary of the recommended revisions.
Remember, everyone, that once your light comes on, once you push your button, your mic is live, so I'm going to call them out in the order that they're showing here. And if everyone else would just make sure that they keep this sidebars very limited, if not non-existent. Councilor McDonald.
Thank you, Council President. I'll just note your mic was not on. I'd be happy to defer to Councilor Winslow and go after him.
Okay, Councilor Winslow, you were second. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, I guess one thing, I don't know if Peg or Michelle covered, but the planning board at the hearing the other day did vote unanimously to recommend that the council move forward on this with those two changes that Michelle pointed out. So I just want to emphasize that we had the public hearing. Generally, there wasn't a big turnout. The people supported it in general, and the planning board did unanimously recommend this to the council. And then I did want to just talk about a little bit the effort related to affordable housing. You know, the kind of the subcommittee that Councilor Murphy appointed Councilor Spatafor and I to participate in. We've been very much aware the whole time that we as a council are very much committed to doing everything to make sure that any by right zoning goes to the 15%. And we did go out and get the resources. I think it's actually good that we as a council did that, because it might be very difficult to prove that. I think the fact that we did the work ahead of time, it was just really a matter of updating that. So I think it is something that has been a very big commitment here. So we've been working, and you know, we brought back Jeff Levine, who had done the initial economic analysis that showed why 15% works in Malden, and that's really what they're looking for. So I think we have the expertise there and the track record. We're not just, the concern about the 10% was that there might be some communities that would say 30%, because that would mean it wouldn't happen. The reason the 10% is allowed was to set lower threshold, but we already did the work as a council and as a city to show 15% affordable housing can allow affordable housing and other housing to be built without creating a barrier to any housing. So I think we've done the legwork there. So I'm very hopeful that we will work to get that waiver. And but I otherwise very supportive. We put a lot of work into this. I think as we're very aware, this process has taken in a lot of input from council, the surveys, and that I think it's a good approach. It really does focus the attention and the effort here on the areas around our heavy transit, which is really some of the intent and why we're the leading edge of the communities that are passing this. The 12 other communities that have public transit trains that are serving it. So so I'm very supportive of this, and I really appreciate all the effort of the staff for putting this together, and I will be voting in favor of this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow. Councilor Spatafora, did you have your hand up? I'd like to go to you second as this, person who was on this committee with Councilor Winslow. Can you unmute yourself? No, I can't hear you.
It's a plus.
All right.
It looks like the.
Councilor McDonald, do you have a suggestion?
Try now, Councilor Spatafora.
I think he needs a new headset.
That didn't have any impact.
We'll pause it.
Yes, well, we actually asked the question while we're trying to figure this out.
Yeah, thank you, Council President. So I actually just had I'll save my comments on the proposal as a whole. I just had a question. So my understanding of these unit capacity is that it's pretty formulaic, right? I mean, this whole process is a matter of the state has set all these kind of complicated things we have to balance, and we're trying to make the numbers work. So I just don't understand conceptually how it is that we've switched a couple of these parcels from what would have been counted towards our highest density element, which is the high-rise properties, the high-rise district, into the Malden Center district, which has lower density and lower height. So how did we pick up the additional unit capacity in order, or am I missing something in that?
Yes, those three parcels that I listed, the fire station, the MBT parking lot, and the MBT station, were classified as mandatory mixed use. They were not high-rise. They were mandatory mixed use, and they switched or proposed to be reclassified to Malden Center. So that, and the reason there's no issue with the unit capacity is because they had zero capacity under MMU, and they now have zero capacity under Malden Center.
Got it.
So it wasn't the unit capacity issue we were trying to address, or we are trying to address, or I should say we need to address, it's the acreage. The acreage is the issue that was raised by the state, and I will note for the record, it appears that the state has taken a different interpretation recently of some of these guidelines. That's why we found ourselves in this situation literally 2 days ago, 3 days ago. It's a different interpretation than we've been working under since the guidelines were issued in August regarding MMU. Now there's a different interpretation they're taking. So all of a sudden, it really does seem like all of a sudden, we were told that we did not meet the acreage.
So we had certain properties that we had to count for acreage and for contiguousness.
Yes,
But they were never a part of our unit calculation, so now we've.
Correct.
So
Correct.
does that mean that theoretically, I'm not gonna propose changes, just to be clear, but does that mean that theoretically there is more mandatory mixed use? We could have upped the number of properties in the mandatory mixed use category, all of the things being equal, since that was kind of at a capacity limit, or was that never a part of that 25% that they were looking at?
I'm sorry, what was it?
The MBTA community's rules capped the amount of mandatory mixed use,
Yes.
right? So does that have, switching these parcels out of mandatory mixed use, does that have the effect of us not hitting that cap now?
No,
Or
because it
just
was
never-
zero. It was zero
always
at
zero?
MMU, but so it was never counted towards
Got
this.
it.
We're allowed to have 1,732 units of mandatory mixed use, and we still have 1,732 units.
Okay.
So it was, because those were zero capacity, it was a wash,
Thank
essentially.
you for that clarification. Very
Thanks.
helpful.
Councilor Spatafor, I just sent you a text. We're working on it on this end. I'm just going to continue with the councilors until we can see if we can resolve the technical problem. Okay, Councilor Simonelli was next.
Thank you, Madam President. So, Michelle, this handout you just gave us, I'm just a little confused, and I can see why, like, the people that are coming here tonight are confused too, because it says on the A4, it says to maximize and incentivize the development of affordable housing. I thought this wasn't about affordable housing. Is it or isn't it?
It is because we are going, when we file our materials, our final materials, if and when you ordain an ordinance, we will file that with our economic feasibility analysis, where we will provide evidence to the state that we should be allowed to include 15% IZ. So when you read the rest of this, we folded in our whole inclusionary zoning ordinance into this ordinance, absent two things: the special permit, because it can't be by special permit, and also absent the incentives. So if you were to pass this, you would be requiring affordable housing in this new housing by right. The catch is the state needs to approve the 15%. So
And what are their reasons to approve it? What would they do to improve it?
they are going to look
approve
at
it?
our economic feasibility analysis, and they're going to see that the numbers support, including an IZ provision doesn't make a project infeasible, is essentially what they're doing. As Council Winslow said, they're going to look at it and say, it's still a feasible project, even if affordable housing is required. That's the economic data our consultants have to provide. And they have provided, they've already given us that info. We just have to file it with the state, but we have to file it all together.
All right. And the other thing too is, earlier somebody had mentioned that, it'll strengthen our tax base. Can you tell me like what the tax rate is? I thought it was like a warehouse rate on apartment buildings. Is that still the way it is, or has it changed?
Well, I'm not an expert, but I understand there's two classifications, either you're residential or you're commercial. And my understanding is multifamily is considered commercial. So apartment buildings are considered commercial. If you're asking about the projected tax revenues from these units, you need to give me a minute to look that up.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Michelle. And just let me ask you while you're looking that up, so we're not wasting any more time. The downtown here area, I wasn't on the council when you guys did this down here. Is there a affordability mechanism built into these apartment complexes here?
No.
Downtown? Why is that?
These were all done before the affordable housing requirements were on the books, so it was
But, I mean, we didn't even
optional.
look at it for our own 15%, like Councilor Winslow was talking about. Why would we miss an
didn't- we
opportunity
didn't
like
have the
that, being that
ordinance.
close to the train station, though?
It was not required and it was not done.
Oh. It was proposed? Oh, wow, thank you. Thank you.
I do have it, just bear with me.
I mean, listen, you know what, if you don't have it with you right now, Michelle, I don't want to put you under the gun.
No, I do.
You can-
Somebody
all
said,
right.
why do you bring all those papers with you? And I said, because sometimes
Yeah,
I need those papers.
sometimes there's always a
But I
troublesome
didn't-
counselor somewhere,
No, I
right?
didn't bring them, but I have it, and I'm gonna just get it.
I mean, you
right
can
now.
always give it to me later. It's not going to make or break me
I
tonight,
want to
but
say it was approximately 8.2 million in additional tax revenue
great.
that could be generated with the potential growth that may be allowed under this. That's an estimate.
Okay. I just want to say
Yeah.
that, I was hesitant on this, on which way I was going with the vote, just because I don't like to pretty much have a gun to my head and be told what to do from the MBTA or the state in my own community. However, that's where we are today. And, I'm not voting on this paper because of its affordability, because I don't even know what affordability is anymore in this community, or any community for that matter. Because like I said at the last meeting, I work with people. I mean, my neighborhood is like the mecca of affordability. And, I get phone calls constantly, every day pretty much, or I bump into someone every day that's looking for housing who's grown up here in this neighborhood. And I was hearing that tonight, people are getting priced out. And I really got to be honest with everyone. I just don't know what affordability is anymore, I mean, so I'm not voting on it for that, but I did get an opportunity to talk to Director Burke and Deputy Director Alex Pratt, and if I'm voting for this project, I'm voting for it because I don't want to restrict us from getting future monies for the community. Because when I was on the council before, grant money was far and few between. And there's a lot of grant money out there today to go after. So I don't want to hold the city hostage and not allowing that to continue and happen. But, I think as a council, we really got to start to look at, this project here, we don't have much of a choice, but I think that we need to, if someone's looking for you. I think that we have to really kind of hone it down and, what is affordable anymore, and see what that is. But I thank you for your time, like usual, Michelle. You do a great job, presentation, so thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
That's where he covered the New England area.
That's not him.
Spatafora, we don't seem to be having any luck getting your audio. Still trying. Okay. Can you try to speak to us, Councilor Spatafora? No. So, sorry about that. Councilor Condon.
Thank you, Council President. Michelle, when they say by right, a lot of these parcels can build by right. Are you saying they can ignore our local zoning ordinances, or they don't have to go to a public hearing? Neighbors don't have to be notified?
By right is defined in the ordinance as without the need or requirement for special permit, variance, zoning amendment, waiver, or other discretionary approval. It's expressly defined to exclude site plan review. So there will be a site plan review process. The site plan review process, which is outlined in here, is similar to our other site plan review processes. There will be a review schedule, there will be posted meetings, there will be notice to all abutters, so it will look like a public hearing, it just will be called a public project meeting. So neighbors will be notified, the public will have a chance to speak. But it is not the same as a special permit or variance. They're not the same appeal rights and things like that. So legally, it's different, and the site plan review committee is going to apply different standards. So it's not that they're going to ignore the current zoning. Under this proposed zoning, there's another option to pursue development under a different set of zoning rules, which is the one that's before you tonight.
I just want to make sure I heard you right when you said the apartments large apartments will be considered commercial?
I believe that's true, yes. I don't
That-
know if
That's
anyone else.
incorrect. That is incorrect.
It is incorrect?
It is
That is
incorrect. I just texted Nate because I believed it was incorrect, and his answer, Nate Kramer is our assessor, city assessor, he said no, that, I said, large multifamily residential properties are taxed as commercial. The answer is no. That question has been coming up a lot lately, but they do pay considerably more as they do not get the residential tax exemption. So they're taxed on the residential base.
So it's like a
Because right now, all the apartments in this community are taxed as residential. And that's what throws our tax base off the way it is.
That makes sense. I stand corrected.
Sorry, Michelle, I just.
No, I want you to
yeah.
correct me. That's why I
Yeah.
said I'm not an expert at this, but I think it has been discussed, and I was not correct about that.
So considering that, right, I don't think anybody knows the city as well as you do. The way the parcels we have here, the zoning, that we're gonna give them the by right to build, how do you see our tax base? Right now, we're probably 8911 residential. How do you see our tax base going more in a balanced manner? In other words, the increase in commercial that we'd all like to see. But it seems to me that we're going to see a big increase the other way, more residential.
I mean, I can't say that I'm not really sure how the balance will be affected. I mean, the parcels on this list include existing residential. They do include some commercial properties as well. So we'd really have to take a look at that. I do know, and I don't know if Deborah Burke has the impacts analysis. I don't have it, and I'm not finding it in my system, but I believe it was 8.28 million increased taxes that was estimated from the potential growth. Actually, I may have it, now that I just said that, I think I do have it. It was in the planning report. So the annual property tax revenues right here is $8.2 million may be generated. So if the potential growth that we estimate under this zoning were to occur, potentially we could see $8.28 million generated in taxes.
Can I use this?
There's a couple things that bother me. The fact that they're coming in here, giving us a short period of time which to make this vote. And they're still changing, they may be little things, but they're still changing things. So you sit here and you wonder, I wonder how many things they're gonna try to change afterwards, and I'm not sure that the MBTA knows what's best for our city.
Can't run their own company.
I think that it comes down to one thing for them. That's to increase their ridership, which is naturally their job to do, but it has to be at what expense to the Malden community? What's this city gonna look like after all these changes are made? And that makes me hesitant on it, but also I know there's a large scope of grant money out there available to us. So I have reservations about it, and I know there's probably the votes on the council to do it, but I certainly have reservations on the way it was handled, the way it's being done. And like I said, I have a dislike for building by right, because nothing in my past sitting up here, things don't seem to go our way in that. So, wondering if you have any thoughts on that.
I mean, I could just note, the MBTA, for what it's worth, they're not the ones that are interpreting these guidelines. They didn't propose the guidelines. I think maybe the state, it used to be the Department of Housing Community Development, which is now the Executive Office of Housing Livable Communities. They're the group that's implementing this and coming up with the guidelines and coming up with the interpretations. I imagine they are working somewhat with the MBTA, but I don't know that it's really the MBTA, so I would comment on that. I would agree with what you said about the status of the MBTA. There will be, we do expect to receive more feedback. We will eventually receive a formal determination of compliance letter and/or additional feedback. So we could be before you next year with additional amendments. We, as I said, just received the initial feedback literally days ago and in some cases hours ago. So the state knows that we have a deadline, we have to have this enacted and ordained, but yet we actually have not received formal feedback. One of the councils asked for the letter. We didn't receive a letter. We had conversations, and then we had more conversations, and then we had more conversations with other people. So it's been a real informal feedback process at this point. But once we hit send and we file this formally, it'll be in queue for the state to formally review it. We've been given, rough estimates that may be months away before it's reviewed. So, but in the meantime, you will have enacted an ordinance that's legal and binding in that developers can come in and petition to develop under. That's why I want to just note that, why we are bringing you even these last minute revisions, because we really want to make sure what you put on the books is as correct as possible for Malden, and achieves all the goals and everything that we're all trying to do and that has been stated throughout the zoning amendment process. So, we will have something on the books once you vote on it. The state may not actually approve it till sometime next year. So they're two different things. Just wanted to note that.
Yeah. If I'm correct, years ago, the guidelines said you have to have 10%. The city of Malden's been vigilant on finding ways to increase our affordable housing. And as Councilor Winslow says, we're at 15%. But they come in with a guideline of 10%. So, they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. Are they afraid of dealing with, you mentioned some of the communities, Lexington, Belmont, Brookline. Are they afraid of dealing with the richer communities?
That I'm
who
not
have
sure.
always been
Yeah.
lower than cities like Malden
Yeah.
and surrounding communities as far as addressing the affordable housing problem?
I mean, the 10% comes out of Chapter 40B, which is another state law that's been on the books. It's also known as the anti-snob law. It's the inclusionary housing law. That's what requires all cities and towns to have a minimum of 10% of its housing stock as affordable. But that's, cities and towns have gotten around that. So many cities and towns don't meet the 10%. We have been over the 10%, I think, up until recently. And I think that's why they put 10% into this new guideline. Probably they were mirroring the law that's already on the books. And the law on the books does say, in 40B, does say 10% minimum. I expect that's why they put it, but again, it's not required. We're allowed to go up to 10%. So some of these communities that you mentioned could propose MBTA zoning that has no affordable housing in it. There's no requirement, as Deborah Burke said, there's no requirement to include any affordable housing provisions. We are pursuing it because we want to do it. So.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I know that the process has been rather complicated from the state, and I'm sure that's put a lot of pressure on the staff to kind of, juggle all of those balls, and it's not really fair to the staff nor to the council or our community to kind of have it rolled out this way. I would have liked to see, I think, a different map, but, I think we talked about, the good being, or great being the enemy to good. And I do think that we could look at this in the new year and kind of take another crack at it if we need to. We definitely don't want to lose any of the grant funding. One of the questions I did have is related to the 25% max mixed-use district. You had said that is that 25% a cap on the capacity of units or on the area of the district?
25% on our unit capacity. So it's 25% of the 6930 that the state set as our unit capacity. So that's how we come up with the 1732.
And there's no area looking, it doesn't, area is not taken into consideration in terms of how big the district is.
It is not, no, we don't have the same requirements. And initially, as I said, we were told that it could be counted towards meeting our acreage, and then we were told it couldn't. So it can be used like to connect the districts in the parcels, but it can't count towards the acreage. That's why we literally all of a sudden were short acreage, 4 days ago.
Understood.
Or found out we were short acreage.
And then Councilor Winslow kind of clued me in a little bit about that. Because I saw in the map, some areas, it looks like the map includes roads, and other areas, it looks like it doesn't include roads. If the map shows a road is included, does that mean that road is part of the district? And if the road is excluded, does that mean the road is not part of the district?
For purposes of acreage, yes.
Okay. But like, so for instance, up on Main Street,
Yes.
where you have, on the Melrose border, you have that
Elrich Drive, yes.
that cul-de-sac?
Yes.
You see how the road's not included?
Yes.
Does that mean that, like, if they wanted to propose building on the road, that would not be allowed by right?
Right, and they wouldn't be able to propose building on the road anyway. So I guess that's the point. Whether the road is included or it isn't, you can't build on the roadway.
Oh, I don't know.
So, right, but yeah, we
Because
could.
I think it might be a private way, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well, even if it's a private way, we wouldn't be able to build on it,
Okay.
because it has to be left open to pass and repass. So if it's a right of way,
Hear me?
you can't build on it.
Okay, and then in terms of how many votes does this take to pass? 6, simple majority?
Yes, this new MBTA community zoning law, part of that package was to amend the voting thresholds. One of the voting thresholds that was amended was to ordain or to pass zoning amendments where multifamily housing is allowed by right.
And then if there was a veto, what would it take to override the veto?
That I don't know. I
Supermajor-
presume it would go back to
supermajority,
your council rules.
So 2/3 vote,
Yeah.
probably?
I mean, so it's.
You need 8
it's-
to override a veto, 8.
Yeah, yeah, it must be that, for this, yeah, okay. Yeah, as I said, I think it would have been nice to have, some more parcels where people could, increase what they have on their parcels, try to build some local wealth. But like I said, we're not gonna make great the enemy good. Looking forward to, passing this tonight, and taking a look at it in 2024. Thank you.
Spatafora.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, welcome aboard.
So first, I apologize for having the technical difficulties, and I'm going to have to run after this vote. There was an unexpected death in my wife's family, so I'm not able to attend in person. However, I did want to speak on this paper. First, I do want to start with Council Winslow's left off in terms of there was a tremendous amount of work put into this project. That was every 2 weeks we had a call. Michelle and Debbie, along with the consultants, were instrumental in getting us along. And as you can tell by this discussion, it is a technical challenge to comply with the state law. And as you could probably tell too by reading it, the state law has changed. They moved the goalpost. And I think all the councilors probably in somewhat agreement know that we're being forced to do this. From my perspective, I'm glad Council Murphy addressed the audience there because I heard the word inclusion in the MBTA. And if you actually look at if you Google that on Mass.gov, they do not mention the word inclusion in any of the requirements. It's the multifamily zoning near transit and neighborhood communities. And if you looked at some of the requirements, and I'm not going to read them all, but basically they say it's by right within a certain, aspect of near a rapid transit or a bus line. There's no word in there about affordability. And the affordability, which Councilor Murphy alluded to, is coming from our own zoning. So that's the first challenge I think a lot of councils had with this, is you're forcing us to build more property by right. And we hope that supply and demand do work out, but we know, unfortunately, that that's not always the case. Because I think as other people have talked here, right, Malden is about 90% residential. even if you added 10% more, yeah, you'd increase the supply, but I don't think it would still be to the point of affordable for most people in this room, or this audience, or at least listening. The challenge with that, though, by having 100% residential, our tax base is gonna be dwindling where we're not gonna get the same commercial rate that we get our industrial, right? We need to really look at that and balance that out, because communities that have I don't wanna say balance, but if they have 10 or 15% or 20% of industrial and commercial, that helps lower the residential tax rate, i.e. makes it more affordable. So the challenge for me with this, and I'm gonna support it, but I feel like they're gonna change the rules again after this is passed. And at one point, I think as a community, we have to sit down with the state and have a serious discussion, because while the MBTA brings a lot of great value, we pay for that service and it's been diminished. And now by forcing us to build more residential property, because I know what Councilor O'Malley said in terms of certain properties you want to see in here, and I agree. But what I do not want to see happen is our commercial tax base become residential apartments that are only 15% affordable, because that's not going to help anybody, whether it's the residents in that building or the future residents of this city, because it's going to dwindle. And I do mention some other people did speak about Lexington. Lexington's average home right now is $1.6 million for single family. They require 1 acre for single family. So what they're doing right now is they're going to allow 15 units on 1 acre of land. So while they are going to comply with the law, it is no way near what Malden has to do in terms of complying for the law. What I feel like the state should have done is gone to those other cities, the Winchesters, the Lexingtons, and forced them to build more affordable housing. And that would have helped with the supply. But they've gone to the same communities and asked them over and over again to take the brunt of this. So I will support this, but I feel like if this is going to change in '24, I'd be more than happy to revisit this, and the state's going to come up with a better formula, both in terms of helping us with our school funding and the ability to absorb all these new residents, all these challenges that come along with forcing us by right. Because by right is not good for anybody. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Spatafora. Councilor Cologne Hayes.
Thank you. I also just want to thank everyone who worked on this for all their hard work. It is confusing right up until today. I know there's like major changes. I did sit through the planning board meeting, and that was extremely helpful to me, how you went over again. I got to hear it for the second, maybe even third time in a public meeting. So I am in support of this, and I hear my fellow councilors, and I am also share your concerns, but I also do hope that by increasing our supply of housing and rents, that the rents will go down. I mean, that is a hope of mine, and I also think that I trust in what Councilor Winslow said about getting the 15%, that we have shown the work, and that we will get that, and it will be a good thing. Malden isn't Lexington and those other cities, so I don't really like to kind of do that compare. We're a gateway city. We have our people here use our transit all the time, whether it's, it's not great all the time in the way it works, but we're a city of commuters. So I'm in support of this, and I just hope it moves on tonight, and it's been a long night, so hopefully we'll go to a vote. Thanks.
Councilor Simonelli, and then Councilor McDonald for the second time.
Thank you, Madam President. You were talking about the $8.2 million that the tax revenue will bring in. But, we got to factor in it's a big change for me, because if you remember, I was the one who put the first moratorium in there and actually overrode Mayor Howard's veto on the council to not allow any. And you were a great, you were great at working with the public and getting that out there, Michelle, and I appreciate that, and doing an infrastructure study that we so desperately needed to do at the time. But speaking of on that, and that's, I went on a little sabbatical. I come back 12 years later, and we flipped all the way around. So I don't know where that happened. But the $8.2 million that you're talking about coming in on tax revenue, have we considered by increasing the number and the volume of housing stock will bring children? Because we're not going to say it's not going to bring in children. We're not going to go there. So that is going to increase the class capacity, where we're going to need to have new schools. We're going to need to hire new teachers. $8.2 million is not a lot of money when one school costs $25 million. I mean, unless the state and the MBTA are gonna help us fund that, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. So, I mean, look, again, you know, I'm not trying to beat this thing up. I just think that some of these things needed to be pointed out, and I just don't like the way they're moving the goalposts, like Councilor Spatafora has said, and changing the rules to make it convenient for them. I think that come 2024, we should instruct our city solicitor to take a look at some other communities that are actually suing the city, suing the state for forcing them to do this, because I believe there are a few communities like Milton and a few others that are actually put a lawsuit in with the state to, you know, correct it. And so, I mean, maybe that's something we have to look at. Again, you know, there's a lot of money out there to be had, you know, for the city. And we can use it. And, you know, they're telling us that if we don't vote in the way they want us to vote, then we don't get that money. I think that's a strong arm tactic if I've ever seen it. And, you know, and I commend Councilor Winslow and Councilor Spatafora for working on this to get it up to 15%, because when I was here before, I think Malden was 12 when everybody was at 10. So Malden's always been a leader in providing, again, I don't know what affordable housing is, and I really am sincere when I say that anymore, because people use it all the time, and, you know, these apartments that across us over here, they even cut them in half. I couldn't even afford to live in there. So I don't know what it is. But anyway, I have taken up enough time on this microphone tonight, Madam President, and I will leave you alone. Thank you.
Of course you may.
I just didn't want to, I don't want to take up too much time, but in your package, you should have received the planning board's report. And on the last page, we did run through the impacts. So I want to just note the number of affordable housing as we define affordable housing. 337 affordable units may be created. Existing land use is preserved. Open space, up to 566,000 square feet of new open space will be created. Overall traffic may increase by 5%. An additional 8.5 additional fire staff may be needed. An additional 8.7 police staff may be needed. 46 additional students may seek enrollment. That was the school enrollment estimate of impact. Annual property tax.
46 total?
46 total.
How did you come up with these numbers?
These were we ran through formulas. We gave them current data and data for the past, I think it was 10 or 15 years for Malden housing growth.
Explain to me what affordable housing is then. Tell me what it is. Tell me how we're going to supply that.
Right, annual
What is
property
affordable
tax,
housing?
and then municipal.
Michelle.
Yes, I want to just let me finish one thing. Municipal contribution for school funding, our contribution may increase by 5.5 million. So I just wanted to mention those. Those are outlined there, but by affordable housing, I'm going to read the definition because it's in our ordinance. And I don't remember it exactly. So affordable housing is all required affordable housing units shall be reserved for households earning income up to 50% of the median income of the Boston, Cambridge, Quincy, Mass, New Hampshire, HUD, Metro, FMR area, published annually by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. So it's a standard that we use. That's the standard in our ordinance, and that's the standard we're proposing. So up to 50% of the median income for this area. So that's when I say affordable housing, that's the.
So it doesn't include Section 8 or anything like that, right?
It does not, no.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, you know, we can go through these things back and forth all night. And again, Michelle, I know you work hard. I've known you for a long time. And, you know, I appreciate the work you do. But even still, how much did you say for the new schools?
The school formula or the enrollment?
Not enrollment. How much contribution?
The estimated contribution, our required contribution may increase by 5.5 million.
So take that away from the 8.2, right?
Yes.
And then we got to hire policemen, right?
Police and fire.
Additional fire. So what are we gaining? And if I can't get people, and you see the frustration that I have here, folks, is that I can't seem to get anybody housing. And I'm asked on a daily basis, whether I'm shopping and Stop and Shop or whether they call me on the phone. I'm calling the housing authority every day. And I can't get anybody any affordable housing of people that have lived in this community. So I ask once again, who gets the affordable housing? Where does it, who gets it? Because I, as a city councilor in a impacted neighborhood, I can't seem to get it. But again, you know what? I'm all set. Thank you.
Councilor Condon?
Thank you.
Yes, oh,
I'm happy to refer to my colleague. I'll go after.
okay. Go ahead. Oh, now we just turned Condon off. Okay, hold on a second. I got it.
Stop
All right, so-
with my bag.
I'm, okay.
Turn yourself on.
I know, just by pushing, yeah, just push,
Okay, I'm on now.
you're on, yes.
Okay.
That'll make it easier.
So I just wanted to offer my perspective on like the big picture here of what's trying to happen, because I just think this is very confusing, and I have yet to have a conversation with anyone in this city who's not totally confused about what all this is. So I'm going to tell you, this is my version of the story. Anyone can disagree with me. So in the post-war era, when white flight is emptying out cities, one of the things that happened in eastern Massachusetts, which happened in lots of parts of the country, is what we've called exclusionary zoning, which is to say that we took all the rules about zoning and we made it so that many cities and towns made it so it was really hard to build new housing, so that the suburbs would stay primarily single family and so on. Malden absolutely did this. And in fact, even later increased requirements for single family houses so that it's very difficult to build a new single family house with the lot sizes that we have. This is one of the reasons why we have a housing shortage in Massachusetts. Now, the difference in Malden is that our underlying stock was pretty different. We're not only single family homes in the city, there's a lot of apartments, you know, there were triple deckers from before all of that and so on, but absolutely some of that exclusionary zoning was definitely based on stopping triple deckers where immigrant families, you know, anti-Irish, anti-Italian sentiment, people did not want those, you know, the authorities at the time didn't want those built. So that's just the history. Malden, I think, has, you know, maintained its building stock that has made it an affordable, diverse place to live, which I think is really important, and done some really good work in the last years I want to acknowledge, including adopting an inclusionary zoning ordinance that is towards affordability. So that's good. We're building on that. But the MBTA communities, i.e. communities that have access to public transit law, the state was trying to crack down on this. And so they created all of these rules to try to prevent suburbs from finding ways around the rules. And the rules aren't that you have to build anything, you just can't stop certain things from getting built, right? So that's, this whole thing has had the feel of a game to me, of like there's all these requirements, state changes requirements, you have to hit this, you can't do that, this threshold, that threshold. And I mean, my perception is that that is not about Malden, it's about how many other communities that have historically tried to keep anything remotely affordable from getting built to find a way around this law. So, you know, I think that the way that where we're landing on this is that Malden is trying to get, I think, appropriate credit for the housing that is already here. And in fact, a lot of the things the state is requiring, we're mapping onto what already exists in Malden, which I think is fair and makes sense. That's not the situation that has happened in Lexington or Newton or other places where they've just really worked really hard and didn't have that same underlying building stock. So, you know, that leads us to nowhere near as many units do we think could actually get built from here as are allowed technically in this unit calculation, which again, I mean, it's just it's a spreadsheet calculation. I actually think the number of units that will actually get built is quite a bit lower than even the number that we're including here, this 2,200, for various reasons. So it's nothing like a panacea about housing. But I think what the city, what we're choosing to do in this and what the mayor has put forward is say, let's comply with the law for all the reasons. We all said we'd uphold the law. We need to get our grants, and then use that to kick off a master plan project that allows us to put our own destiny in our own hands and find the things that work for our city that could actually get affordable housing built, that could actually build our commercial corridor. So that is why I'm supporting this, is because even though this, has felt like a little bit of a game to get this done on time, I want to appreciate also the huge amount of work, Michelle, you've done, OSPCD and our consultants, and then be able to turn to where I think we can have more impact, which is a master planning process. The other points I just want to make very quickly are, I just personally don't agree with the calculation about the estimated impacts on the school funding formula, because the school funding formula is jointly determined across the state, and in the future, 170-something communities are all having to do this. So it will impact everybody. So I don't think you can just take the existing formula, assume some changes about Malden because it's going to be true for all these other communities. So I don't know that, I don't have a lot of faith in that particular number. I guess we'll see. And the other thing I just want to note is that the whole region is watching cities and towns do this. There was just an article in the Globe today about how the Milton Town meeting passed this, right? So, I mean, I just want to be clear, like, I think Malden should get credit for the amount of affordable housing work that we've done, for the underlying building stock that is multifamily and fairly dense, near transit that is here, and that this, I think, has inspired us to engage in a better process that is designed for this city, which is a master planning process. And if we don't get an article in the Globe about that, I'm going to be super disappointed. So I just want to appreciate everybody who's been engaged in this. I think this is a huge opportunity to participate in the master plan process next year, which is really where I think we can put teeth and have impact in all of this. So I just think I appreciate the planning board recognizing we just got to get this done. We got to get this in before they change the rules on us again. And then let's tackle the real work ahead. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McDonald. Councilor Cornyn.
Thank you, Council President. Michelle, you mentioned they took the fire station out and the parking lot, MBTA parking lot. If you go down Pearl Street, you have McDonald Stadium and you have Callahan Park, both owned by the City of Malden. So that's city property too. They're even numbers. I think they're 32 Pearl Street and probably 98 Pearl Street. So they do have even numbers, and they are owned by the City of Malden. How come they didn't do something with those parcels?
Those parcels, Council, those parcels are included. That is 32 Pearl Street, which is the McDonald Stadium, and also 100 Pearl Street, Callahan Park. Those are in the multifamily Malden Center zoning district. But again, because they're city-owned and they're not developable public land, they don't carry any unit capacity. So they count towards our acreage requirements and also allow us to connect to 89 Pearl Street, which is a multifamily, elderly, and affordable housing complex. So there could be potential growth on 89 Pearl Street. We were able to get there by extending the district over. So those two parcels are included, but there's no unit capacity on them, no potential growth.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so I think we have everybody. Okay, I would just like to say something, if I may. So I also want to thank Councilor Winslow and Councilor Spatafore. I asked both of them to be on this committee with Michelle Romero and Deborah Burke and the OSPCD and consultants. They've spent an inordinate amount of time coming up, all of them, with a proposal that I think is the best proposal that they could have come up with under the circumstances. So I want to thank them all for their hard work. Having said that, as I said the last time we spoke about this, that I was at the microphone, I really struggle with the fact that, we are being mandated to do this, and I understand there's 170 other communities that are also being mandated to do it in some fashion, but there's really 12 that are, being put to them in a different way because we do have the rapid transit stations coming through our community. Those stations that we pay over $4 million for a year, which, is just, when you think about it, because we host 2 commuter stations and we pay for them, we are being asked in a very densely populated community to add to our housing stock. I really struggle with that. I don't think that it's good for the city. I don't think it's good for our future. And, as Councilor McDonald said, we have a very diversified housing stock. We are not all one families. Could we go back and maybe look at, the requirement that's left, for zoning, if there's any parcels? Yes, we could certainly do that to make things easier if that's something someone would like to think about. But this just does not sit right with me. And I know we're talking about grants that are out there that we might not be able to apply for, but I just think it's wrong the way this is being done and being, basically said to us, do this or else. So as much as I appreciate the work that everybody's done, I just can't in good heart support this. I just don't think it's right. So, thank you. So, got a motion to approve by Councilor?
Well, let's see, I think we got to do a couple things.
What?
We have to make a motion to amend the paper with the conditions, and then we have to make a motion. to approve.
Okay. Would you like to do that?
So, well, so I just to be clear, I want to propose two motions. One, which is a motion to amend the paper with the changes that's been proposed by the planning board and staff tonight. And then second, once we've amended it, make a motion that we approve the paper with the condition that we submit the inclusionary zoning waiver with that. So that's my two proposed motions.
Okay.
Second the motion.
Okay, so on the first one, that we amend the paper as submitted. Okay, clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon.
Yes.
Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor Linehan.
Yes.
Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor O'Malley.
Yes.
Councilor Seega.
Yes.
Councilor Simonelli.
Yes.
Councilor Spatafora.
Yes.
Councilor Winslow.
Yes.
Council President Murphy.
No. Would you repeat the second?
So, and then I make the motion that we adopt the amendment, adopt the ordinance as amended, and include the inclusionary zoning waiver as part of the submission to the state.
So we're going to enroll?
Enroll, to make motion to enroll the ordinance as amended.
I'll second it.
And also ask that the inclusionary zoning waiver be submitted. So, yeah, those two things.
Clerk will call the roll.
Thanks, buddy. Do I need two? It's three. Jesus. Just give me a tube of toothpaste, Paul. Yeah.
It's not clear to me. The waiver is just part of our regs, so we just.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon.
Yes.
Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor Linehan.
Yes.
Councilor McDonald.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley.
Yes.
Councilor Seega.
Yes.
Councilor Simonelli.
Yes.
Councilor Spatafora.
Yes.
Councilor Winslow.
Yes.
Council President Murphy.
No. Okay. I don't know, I'm looking at,
Yeah, I think just in the interest of time and, the discussion they have, I make a motion that we suspend council rules for the purposes of ordaining. Thank you.
all right, so we have a motion by Councilor Crowe to suspend council rules for the purpose of ordaining, seconded by Councilor Cologne Hayes. Clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon.
Yes.
Councilor Crowe.
Yes.
Councilor Linehan. Yes. Councilor McDonald.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley.
Yes.
Councilor Seega. Yes. Councilor Simonelli.
Yes.
Councilor Spatafora.
Yes.
Councilor Winslow.
Yes.
Council President Murphy.
No.
Motion to ordain.
Said today, I know what he's going to do. On Councilor Crow's motion to ordain, seconded by Councilor Winslow.
Councilor Cologne Hayes.
Yes.
Councilor Condon.
Yes.
Councilor Crowe.
Yes.
Councilor Linehan.
Yes.
Councilor McDonald.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley.
Yes.
Councilor Seega.
Yes.
Councilor Simonelli.
Yes.
Councilor Spatafora.
Yes.
Councilor Winslow?
Yes.
Council President Murphy?
No. Next order of business, Council Spatafor, are you going to leave us?
I am. I got to run. I appreciate you letting me participate in this part of the meeting. Thank you so much. See everybody later.
Thank you very much for being with us.
That's it, right? We're done? What we got left?
Okay. Once again, as Council President, I am going to take another matter out of order. So we are going to go to committee reports, 470-23 and 471-23. If you would please read the papers. Next order of business.
Paper 470-23, Committee Report, the Standing Committee on Personnel and Appointments, after meeting to review and interview candidates for the position of City Solicitor, as referred by Paper 419-23, having considered the same, make the following report. Committee recommends Alicia McNeil, Assistant City Solicitor, for the position of City Solicitor to fill the unexpired term of John McNaught.
On Councilor Linehan's motion to receive the committee report, seconded by Councilor Simonelli, all those, no roll call, Councilor Spatafor is gone.
Correct.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Committee report is received. The clerk will read the paper.
Paper 471-23, Council Appointment, Alicia McNeil, 490 Lebanon Street, Melrose, as City Solicitor to fill unexpired term of John McNaught expiring March 1st, 2025.
Councilor Linehan.
Thank you, Madam President. And is Alicia here? I wasn't sure.
Yes, she is. Been
Oh,
waiting
there she is.
patiently.
Great. Looking fab as always. Well, it's my honor to share that the Personnel Committee met in executive session last week to interview and ultimately to recommend Alicia as our next City Solicitor. As many of you know, Attorney McNaught is taking a retirement at the end of December. Our council has a value that we advertise positions openly, which we have done. But I know I'm not alone in saying that I was very excited that we had one applicant. It's the applicant before us tonight, who I am thrilled to be recommending. We did bring her in for an executive session meeting. She was under the weather, still came, and I think that just exemplifies the dedication to the job, honestly. Just speaking personally, I've had a wonderful time getting to know her and working with her, and honestly, in some challenging circumstances this year, she's really risen to the occasion. So wanted to be clear, we were unanimous in that recommendation, delighted that she was our applicant for this position and to be making this favorable recommendation, and would love you the opportunity, if you wish, since you're clearly feeling better tonight, to address us and have us have a conversation with you, but couldn't be more excited that this is the outcome of this process.
Thank you so much, Councilor Linehan. I am better, but my voice is not as clear as it normally is. But I am so honored and profoundly grateful to accept the appointment, if you all vote for me, as the next City Solicitor for the City of Malden. I have been so grateful that when I first came to the City of Malden, that everyone was just so welcoming and with open arms, and really welcomed me in as part of the family of the Malden city, so I appreciate that. I also am very appreciative of the staff that I have gotten to work with. It's an amazing staff, amazing team. Zahir, it's been me, Zahir, Mark, and myself. Zahir has stepped up to the plate, and so I appreciate Zahir. Mark has been the Yoda of the law department. And his knowledge is immense. And Kathy has just been the cornerstone and the support of the legal department. And Kathy is our mother, so when we do something good or bad, Kathy is there to put us in our place. So we really do appreciate Kathy. And so I appreciate the whole staff, and it's been a pleasure. I've been with the city for 2.5 years, going on 3 years, and it's been a pleasure for the amount of time that I've been here to work amongst all of you as part of my job, and I really do appreciate that. It's a job that I would never think that I would be interested in, and I am grateful to the past president of the City Council, Neil Anderson, who's here tonight, who told me about the job, and I decided to step up and take the job. And I have to say, this is the best job that I have had. And I am, again, grateful, finally, for my loudest and biggest cheerleader, my husband, Eugene, who is here with me tonight, and I really do appreciate it. And I ask that for all of your votes. And I answer any questions that you need. Yes.
I would, I guess, just like to say something. I couldn't be more thrilled. You have been an absolute pleasure to work with. I know that, you know, over the course of the year, I've spoken with many of my colleagues, and everyone says the same thing. They go in, they ask you a question, they get the answer. You know, you've just risen to the challenge when John went out unexpectedly of just taking the reins of this department. We couldn't be more happy to have you in this position, and I am just waiting for someone to make a nomination. Motion. Any? I know. So I don't know who I heard. I think I heard Councilor Sika first. Councilor Sika. Oh, actually, I probably should let Councilor Linehan, who's the chair of Personnel Committee, make the motion. Seconded by Councilor Sika. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right. All right.
Careful, Paul.
Okay. Next order of business. No, he's burning. Yes, so he asked me if he could leave.
Did you say?
46223, right?
462, yeah.
Yep. 46223, okay. All right, next order of business, please.
Paper 462-23, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden 6.08.80, secondhand deal of pawnbroker section D2 is hereby amended by striking 10% and inserting in its place 3%.
On Councilor Crow's, actually, Councilor Crow's, just, no, they're
Councilor
rolling. Councilor Crowe for the paper.
So the ordinance committee met last week to actually begin this discussion, and I really would like to actually bring this to a resolution this evening. So it came to our attention that our ordinance says we can allow for 10% interest by month, so that's 120% over the year for our secondhand pawn dealers. Came to our attention that actually the state only allows 36% for the year, which is 3% a month in interest. So when that came to our attention, our clerk, Desiderio, did some legwork and reached out to the state to sort of figure out if we had an approved rate. And Malden does not have an approved rate. She tried to look back, it was like 20 years ago, it was put in as 10%, but it was never approved by the state. So they can only charge a interest rate once it is approved by the state. So again, going back into this, saying our ordinance is 10, could not really find the reason how that came about, what was their rationale for the council at the time, 20-something years ago, why they approved a 10%. So to be in compliance and to be able to register with the state to allow our secondhand dealers to charge the 3%, this sort of needs to go through. So instead of having this go back to ordinance, because we kind of did a lot of work in there already to have this discussion, this is the paper that discussion created this paper, but I actually would like to make a motion to enroll.
Seeing no lights, I have a motion on the floor, seconded by Councilor Crowe, seconded by Councilor Seeker. Clerk, call the roll.
Counselor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Counselor Condon. Yes. Counselor Crowe.
Yes.
Counselor Linehan. Yes. Counselor McDonald. Yes. Counselor O'Malley. Yes. Counselor Seeker. Yes. Counselor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Next order of
Council
business,
President,
please.
just given that next week is really our last meeting, it's going to be a full council meeting, so we won't have to ordain it tonight, but just want to make sure that we get this done.
If you would like to suspend council rules.
I would like to suspend council rules for the purpose of ordaining.
On Councilor Crow's motion to suspend council rules for the purpose of ordaining, all those, is that for your roll call? It can be all.
Counselor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Counselor Condon. Yes. Counselor Crowe.
Yes.
Counselor Linehan. Yes. Counselor McDonald. Yes. Counselor O'Malley. Yes. Counselor Seeker. Yes. Counselor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes. On Councilor Crow's motion to ordain, seconded by Councilor Seeker. Clerk will call the roll.
Can't we
Counselor
just say
Cologne
yes?
Hayes. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Counselor Condon. Yes. Counselor Crowe.
Yes.
Counselor Linehan. Yes. Counselor McDonald. Yes. Counselor O'Malley. Yes. Counselor Seeker. Yes. Counselor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes. So that's ordained also.
All set.
Next order of business.
Paper 463-23, resolved that it is the sense of the Malden City Council that the mayor file and accept grants with and from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs for the Land and Water Conservation Fund Grant Program for improvements to the Malden River Works Park.
Councilor Winslow.
Yes, as we all heard tonight, the update on the Malden River Works project. These are a couple grants. This one's the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant through the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, which helps fund park and open space improvements. So this is in the amount of $654,187. So this is a motion to, or resolve to accept the grant with conditions like that the mayor can enter into the grant, sign other documents to make sure that all the conditions are met. So this is just a resolve so that the mayor can execute the paperwork with the support of the city council to accept that grant and help fund the project. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no lights on Councilor Winslow's motion. Yes, he left. He's gone. Councilor O'Malley has left, Councilor Spatafora has left, and Councilor Simonelli has left.
Right.
But we do have a quorum.
So-
So we are going to move forward with the councilors that we have here. Okay?
All right, so motion to adopt the resolve.
Okay, on Councilor Winslow's motion to adopt the resolve, seconded by Councilor Crowe. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The resolve has been adopted. Okay.
So there's two.
On next order of business, please. Passed.
Paper 464-23, resolved that it is the sense of the Malden City Council that the mayor file and accept grants with and from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs for the Parklands Acquisition and Renovation of the For Communities Grant Program for improvements to the Malden River Works Park.
Councilor Winslow.
So again, this is, I know a lot of people are familiar, this is the Park Acquisition Renovation for Communities Grant Program. And again, for the Malden River Works, so this is a $500,000 grant. We very typically get these. We've gotten from Kirstead, and as a requirement of the grants that we have to, as a council, authorize the mayor to file and accept the grant. So that's what this is. Thank you.
Okay. Seconded, give it a minute.
How about those Patriots?
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
On Councilor Winslow's motion to pass the resolve, seconded by Councilor Seeker. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The resolve has been passed. Next order of business, please.
465 and 418 we did. So now we're going down to 466, committee report. The Standing Committee on Rules and Ordinance, to whom was referred paper 413, series of 2023, having considered the same, make the following report. Committee recommends this paper out favorably to the full council based on the suggested administrative updates to formatting of the salary charts for improved readability.
On Councilor Crow's motion to receive the committee report, seconded by Councilor McDonald. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Committee report is received. Clerk will read the paper.
Paper 413-23, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden be hereby amended by updating Title II, Chapter 24, Section 050, Police Superior Office Salary Schedule.
Councilor Crowe for the paper.
So we met in joint finance and ordinance. This step is to create the salary schedule. And when it was mentioned about the readability, there was one point that there was an increase of 0.15, I believe, % that was never really codified in the ordinance. So it looked like they were getting two sort of raises in that time frame. So that's why we changed it out, just so people can read and understand and not look like they got a bigger raise in one time than they actually did. So this is just to create the ordinance. So I'll make a motion to enroll.
On Councilor Crow's motion to enroll, seconded by Councilor Cologne Hayes. Clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes.
Yes.
Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe.
Yes.
Councilor Linehan. Councilor McDonald.
Yes.
Councilor Seeker.
Yes.
Councilor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes. Councilor Crowe, do you want to ordain?
That would be lovely.
On
Make a
Councilor
motion.
Crow's motion to suspend docket rules for the purpose of ordaining, seconded by Councilor Seeker. Clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes.
Yes.
Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe.
Yes.
Councilor Linehan. Yes. Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor Seeker. Yes. Councilor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes. On Councilor Crow's motion to ordain, seconded by Councilor Seeker. All those in, no, we got to call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor Linehan. Yes. Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor Seeker. Yes. Councilor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes. Okay, we have ordained the ordinance. Next order of business.
Committee report, paper 476-23, committee report, the standing.
It's late.
I probably did.
You did.
467-23, committee report. The Standing Committee on Finance, to whom was referred paper 414, series of 2023, having considered the same, make the following report. Committee recommends this paper out favorably to the full council.
On Councilor McDonald's motion to receive the committee report, all those in, seconded by Councilor Condon, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The committee report has been received. Councilor McDonald for the committee.
Should I read the paper first?
Oh, read the paper, I'm sorry, yes.
Paper 414-23 ordered that the sum of $200,000 is transferred from salary reserve to police labor salaries.
Councilor McDonald for the paper.
Yeah, thank you. So just to add a little more context, so this is, this was an update to the salary schedule for police sergeants, lieutenants, and captains, and then the one senior captain. And this was these rates were reopened as a result of the patrol schedule that was adopted to maintain an agreed upon ratio with the superior officers. And so to Councilor Crow's point, we discovered that there was a piece in some previous negotiations that's needed to be added that had been in the code, and then we decided we found a way to keep the original salary schedule plus the negotiated salary schedule, so it's clear when folks are looking back what had happened, and then it didn't seem like there was a big jump. So it took us a while to figure out how to do that in a transparent way, but I think we did find the result. So this that allows us to be clear that the appropriation here covers back pay to bring us up to date for the remainder of the fiscal year for that roughly 2% increase. It's a little bit more, but it varies. For those officers, which I think is something like 30 or 40 officers together in this bargaining unit. So I would recommend, or I would make a motion to adopt.
Seconded by Council Condon.
Or approve.
Clerk will call the roll. What are we doing?
We only need a majority. Oh, I'm sorry, we do need a roll call, yeah, sorry. Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe.
Yes.
Councilor Linehan. Yes. Councilor McDonald.
Yes.
Councilor Seega. Yes. Councilor Winslow.
Yes.
Council President Murphy.
Yes. Next order of business.
Paper 468-23, Committee Report, the Standing Committee on Finance, to whom was referred Paper 415, Series of 2023, having considered the same, make the following report.
On Councilor McDonald's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Committee report is received. The clerk will please read the paper.
Paper 415-23, order that the sum of $86,824.30 be in the same is hereby appropriated from the TNC Surcharge Municipal Distribution Account to cover the following expenses: sidewalk reconstruction, wheelchair ramp upgrade, utility, conduit and structure replacement, traffic signal and pedestrian signal upgrades, and new crosswalk line striping and thermoplastic at the intersections of Main and Cross, Main and Medford, and Medford-Madison.
Councilor McDonald for the paper.
Thank you, Council President. So the TNC surcharge account is a municipal distribution account. Is money that we receive from the state that they collect on every ride share ride that starts or ends in Malden. And so we just get a check for it once a year. And as the Council President reminded us, in the 6 years that we've been getting this, the city has been disciplined about taking that money and using it to fund a specific infrastructure improvement rather than just kind of spreading it out a couple dollars here, a couple dollars there. So in this case, this is the full balance that we received this year, and it is going towards upgrades at the intersections named here, Main and Cross, Main and Medford and Madison, as part of an overall traffic flow improvement and pedestrian safety program. It's actually filling out the remainder of a much larger grant that's well over $400,000. So I think we're really getting our bang for our buck here that allow us to upgrade signals, to actually create signal timing, and help that major east-west flow of traffic, and also make all these crossings safer. And also, by the way, if the word thermoplastic, I've come to learn, is that like fancy glowy paint that like seriously sticks to the road. So we were very excited to move this forward. I know it's been a source of really excellent signal, intersection upgrades in other parts of the city, and this is a great place to use it right now. So I'd love to make a motion to adopt.
Seconded by Councilor, motion to adopt by Councilor McDonald, seconded by Councilor Crowe. Clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe.
Yes.
Councilor Linehan. Yes. Councilor McDonald.
Yes.
Councilor Seega.
Yes.
Councilor Winslow.
Yes.
Council President Murphy.
Yes. The order has been adopted. Next order of business.
Paper 469-23, Committee Report, the Standing Committee on Personnel and Appointments, to whom was referred Paper 390, Series of 2023, having considered the same, make the following report. Committee recommends this paper out favorably to the full council.
On Councilor Linehan's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Committee report is received. Clerk, if you would please read the paper.
Paper 390-23, Mayoral Appointments. Jessica Sherman, 36 Central Avenue, as a member of the Board of Registrars of Voters, filling the unexpired term of Andrew Zamani, expiring March 31st, 2025.
Thank you, Madam President. So last week, we met in personnel with Jessica Sherman, who's a Ward 8 resident, a small business owner. I think she's the co-founder of Ransack, which many of us have seen out and about in the community. This is a really important, board in our elections process, and Jessica's really eager to step up and serve. So we had a lovely conversation with her and are really excited to be recommending her favorably for appointment.
Okay. On Councilor Linehan's motion to appoint Jessica, seconded by Councilor.
It's her constituent.
Would you mind?
No.
Seconded by Councilor Sika. All those in favor?
Aye.
We actually,
We have to call the roll on this?
a confirmation is a majority roll call vote.
Oh, okay.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Councilor Condon. Councilor Crowe. Councilor Linehan.
Yes.
Councilor McDonald. Councilor Sika. Yes. Councilor Winslow.
Yes.
Council President Murphy.
Yes, the appointment is confirmed. Welcome, Jessica. Next order of business.
Paper 472-23, Committee Report. The Standing Committee on License, to whom was referred papers 391 through 405 and 429 through 445, series of 2023, having considered the same, make the following report. Committee recommends these papers out favorably to the full council.
On Councilor Sika's motion to receive the committee report, seconded by Councilor Condon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Committee report is received. Clerk, if you would read a lot, please.
So, really quickly, Council President, I have to recuse myself from two of these reports.
Okay,
I don't
do
know
you
how
wanna-
you want to do this.
Let's just take them out. Let's skip over them.
Okay.
Get these approved, and then we'll let you
We'll do
recuse
them after.
yourself.
Okay,
So which
perfect.
two do you want to recuse yourself from?
440-23 and 441-23.
Okay, 440. One, long pages, 440 and 441. Okay, regardless, okay. All right.
Paper 391-23, Petition Class 1 ERC Enterprise Group, DBA Smart Buy USA, 616 Broadway Renewal. 392-23, Petition Class 2, Autotech 2, 1236 Eastern Ave, Malden 5 Cars Renewal. Paper 393-23, Petition Class 2, Broadway Auto Motors Incorporated, 495 Broadway, 27 Cars Renewal. Paper 394-23, Petition Class 2, Broadway Auto Sales, 628 Broadway, 0 Cars Renewal. Paper 395-23, Petition Class 2, GP Motorcycle Supply, 420 Broadway, 4 motorcycles renewal. Paper 396-23, Petition Class 2, Hub Starters and Alternators, 172 Broadway, 4 cars renewal. Paper 397-23, Petition Class 2, Joe Champa Auto Body, Inc., 322 Eastern Avenue, 4 cars renewal. Paper 398-23, Petition Class 2, John McMillan, DBA McMillan Automotive, 388 Eastern Avenue, 15 cars renewal. Paper 399-23, Petition Class 2, Jordan Motors, Inc., DBA Malden Auto Sales, 147 Ferry Street, 25 cars renewal. Paper 400-23, Petition Class 2, Malden Auto Brokers, Inc., 225 Eastern Avenue, 20 cars renewal. 401-23, Class 2, Maxima Auto Sales Corporation, 105 Broadway, Malden, 31 cars renewal. Paper 402-23, Petition Class 2, Prestige Motors of Malden Incorporated, 600 Broadway, Malden, 67 cars renewal. 403-23, Petition Class 2, Richards Motor Cars, Inc., 672 Broadway, 80 cars renewal. Paper 404-23, Class 2, River Auto Sales, Inc., 77 Eastern Avenue, 21 cars renewal. Paper 405-23, Petition Class 2, Top Cars Motor Group, 259 Main Street, 31 cars renewal. Paper 429-23, Amusement Machines, Italian American War Vets, Post 16, 40 Oakland Street, 4 machines renewal. Paper 430-23, Petition Amusement Machines, Malden Veterans of Irish Ancestry, 177 West Street, 4 machines renewal. Paper 431-23, Petition Extended Hours, Ayers and Elena Donuts Incorporated, DBA Duncan, 424 Main Street, hours 7 days a week, 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. renewal. Paper 432-23, Petition Extended Hours, CM B. Maderos Incorporated, DBA Duncan, 57 Eastern Avenue, hours 24/7 renewal. Paper 433-23, extended hours, Maya Donuts LLC, DBA Duncan, 200 Commercial Street, hours 7 days a week, 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. renewal. Paper 434-23, extended hours, RMR Donuts Corp., DBA Duncan, 617 Broadway, hours 7 days a week, 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. renewal. Paper 435-23, petition, extended hours, Speedway 2504, 214 Broadway, Malden, 7 hours, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, renewal. Paper 436-23, petition, Class 2, Auto Bazaar Corp., 17 Charles Street, 21 cars, renewal. Paper 437-23, petition, Class 2, Greenleaf Auto Enterprise, Inc., DBA Greenleaf Auto Sales, 28 Broadway, 50 cars, renewal. Paper 438-23, petition, Class 2, Next Level Motors, Inc., 189 Eastern Avenue, 35 cars, renewal. Paper 442-23, Class 2, Rio Auto Group Corp., DBA Dealer One Motors, 77 Broadway, 48 cars, renewal. Paper 443-23, petition, Class 2, Scott M. Fitzpatrick, DBA Wentworth Auto Sales, 730 Eastern Ave, 15 cars, renewal. Paper 444-23, Class 2, Sega Auto Sales and Service, Inc., 449 Ferry Street, 15 cars, renewal. Paper 445-23, Livery, Line Black Car Services, 54 Cleveland Street, 1 vehicle, new.
Council
Motion.
Speaker for the paper.
Motion to grant all those petitions, please.
On Councilor Seeker's motion to grant the petitions, seconded by Councilor Cologne Hayes. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Petitions have been granted. On Councilor Seeker's motion to recuse herself
From 440 and 441.
all those in-
Regano's is my uncle. I think I need to state that, why I'm recusing myself, so that
Seconded
would be
by
why.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? You are recused.
Paper 440-23, Class 2 Regano's Towing Service Incorporated, 1081 Fellsway, Malden, 20 cars, renewal. And paper 441-23, petition, Class 2 Regano's Towing Service, Inc., 1176 Eastern Avenue, 15 cars, renewal.
On Councilor Cologne Hayes' motion to approve the petitions, to grant the petitions, seconded by Councilor Condon. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The petitions have been granted. Councilor Seeker may come back. Oh, Lisa, you got her? Okay, next order of business.
I believe is the docket.
Docket is
No,
clear.
no.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, I'm sorry, Councilor Crowe.
Sorry.
You wanna
So
take
I know
something
that
off
the
the
late
table?
hour, but this poor woman's been sitting here all night for this. So I make a motion to take table 214-23 off the table.
On Councilor Crowe's motion to remove 214-23 from the table, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Paper is now removed from the table. Councilor Crowe?
So I don't know if the clerk wants to read the
Paper.
paper, just for it's in the record.
Paper 214-23, petition, XNet Systems, 3030 Warrenville Road, Suite 340, Lisle, Illinois, project number 100523, XNet Systems seeking grant of location to install fiber conduit beginning at a point approximately located at 244-248 Main Street, running up to approximately 22 Charles Street. It says hearing required, but we already did that. when
Correct.
this was
So
first
we did
tabled.
do the hearing, and this was, quite a while ago, and some of the concerns were, I think Council Winslow had a concern that when they do the trenching, that it's gonna disturb the bike path, the crossing on the main street. And so, and Councilor Spatafora had a concern about, again, having a single pole, where is it gonna come out to? And we have a double pole out there. So those two issues have been sort of resolved to both Councilor Winslow and Councilor Spatafora's satisfaction. So I'll make a motion to approve.
Second on Councilor Crow's motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Winslow. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Been granted. Oh.
I'm on my own local board in town, so
Hopefully you brought your homework with you, so you weren't too bored.
No, thank you.
Okay, the docket is now clear. Do I have personal privilege for anyone? Okay, Counselor Hayes. Counselor Cologne Hayes, sorry.
Okay, no, that's okay, thank you. I was going to pull up,
Oh, I just got, sorry, there you go.
okay, I think I'm back on. I just wanted to let people know that Martin Luther King Day is coming up in January 15th, and we're all aware and we know that the North Shore Black Women's Association usually holds an event at Anthony's, but they have lack of bandwidth. They won't be holding that event again, I think, this year. So they reached out to a community group. I just want to let people know that there is going to be something happening, and that will be coming out soon. It's led by, actually, Councilor Neil Anderson, who just left, and Pastor Wayne Gady, and a few community members. So just hang tight. We'll get that information out, but I just wanted people to know that. Thank you.
Councilor McDonald?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to, acknowledge that in appointing Alicia McNeil as city solicitor, to my knowledge, this is the first time that we've appointed a black woman to head a city department and be an officer of the city. And I would love for, if someone knows otherwise, to say that. I did text Neil, who confirmed as much as I could. So I just think that's a noteworthy achievement. I think representation matters. I think, to be very clear, Alicia is incredibly qualified and will serve this city in great stead. And I think that's just an important historic moment that transpired here tonight that I didn't want to go unnoticed.
Very good. Thank you, Councilor McDonald. And from the chair, Santa Claus is making his 74th visit to Pine Banks Park this Saturday. His ETA is 2 p.m., so he'll be there from 2 to 6 p.m. There's an arts and crafts table from 2 to 4 p.m. Lots of very delicious hot chocolate and cookies served by the Ward 5 elves, and actually some elves from other wards that, kind of jump in and help out. The most wonderful news of this whole thing is that the weather is going to be like 48 degrees, which is like absolute. Drop down a little bit when it gets dark, but it's not going to be frigid cold. But still, I would say dress warm, because there usually is a line, and you can get a little chilly standing in the line, not moving. So, but, a balmy 48, a balmy 40. We've had snow, we've had rain, we've had freezing, but we've done it. We've had COVID, we've had everything, so, but anyway, yes, so please join us. It's open to all residents, it's free. Santa will pose for keepsake pictures. It's a great day, so. Motion to adjourn by Councilor Seeker, seconded by Councilor Crowe. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Good night, everybody.